I didn't really know I could have this dream as a little girl. I didn't know I could go, like, there was going to be a women's, like, professional league that was doing so well. I'm really hoping I could someday play in the PWHL. That's a really, big dream of mine. Not have to be done with hockey after these 4 years at Penn State. I want to keep going.
Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that brings you inside the world of women's hockey, one story at a time. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm joined by Grace Outwater, an incredibly talented forward in her second year at Penn State. Grace, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. I cannot wait to dive in and learn more about you, and so let's do just that. We often start right back at the beginning, the origin story. So I want you to take me back to those outdoor rinks that your grandfather built, the ODR classic way to kind of get involved in the game, find that passion. Could you take us back to those days?
Yeah, so my grandpa visited us for like a weekend and we decided, I think I was like 4 years old, and my brother started playing hockey like a year before me, and he decided to build the rink for him. And then they're like, you know what, why don't you try it? And I'm like, yeah, like for sure. So my dad and grandpa, yeah, they built it together and they helped me. And I actually just fell in love with it. And I love skating like with my family, like, you know, looking up to my brother and my parents who were skating too. Like it was just great to be with my family, and it was such like a fun memory.
Do you like thinking back to that experience? I know that it's a few years ago, but looking back at those experiences, did you feel like once you laced up those skates, once you got out onto the ice, like did it really just click for you? Like this is, so you've spent so much time watching everyone play. Now you're doing it yourself. Do you remember if it clicked for you, or did it take some time for it to really spark for you?
It took a little bit of time actually. Like at first, when I got put into skating sessions, I would just cry and cry because I didn't want to be away from my parents. And then one day, for some reason, I think I made a friend and it clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can make so many friends through this sport. And then it was just so much fun. I had so much fun playing hockey, and, making so many friends was like another bonus to it. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's the a big part of playing team sports is being on a team, right? Like you could have chosen any number of individual sports to play, but
Yeah.
there's something special about being able to do so as a part of the team, right? And making friends, of course. Um, so you have said throughout your career that hockey has taught you, I mean, of course, many things, both on and off the ice, but some of those things include discipline and work ethic at an early age. So I wanted to know from you when you felt as though that commitment really started to become part of your routine, whether it's on or off the ice.
Yeah, at first, I mean, I was just playing hockey for fun, with my friends. It was just a fun time. And then after I'd say around like ninth grade, it started to get like serious. I was seeing like a bunch of my older friends, getting committed to all these universities, going off to like Team Canada and stuff like that. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like I kind of want to do this like full time. So then I really started to like, you know, care about my diet and, working out and training. That became like a really big part of my routine. So that summer where I became really serious, I had a conversation with my parents and I was like, I want to start, eating healthy. I want to follow a meal plan and I want to get a trainer. So I got a trainer for that summer, and every day I was in the gym skating, a couple times a week that summer, focusing on, skills and shooting and a lot of skating. And then also he gave me a meal plan and I started following that. And that especially has really changed my game, just focusing on like the nutrition part of it. And I think a lot of, hockey players at that age might, you know, not focus on that completely, but I think that's what can really set, players aside, focusing on what you eat and put in your body.
Well, I'm just thinking, even as an adult, I don't want to have to do that, let alone as a kid. That mentality shift of having to stick to a plan, and especially for you, you did so because you wanted to. What was the difference for you because you made that decision? Of course, I'm sure that there were some external factors, but at the end of the day, it was you saying, "I want this. I know that I have to, in order to achieve these goals and do what I want to do, I have to be the one that commits to it, not listen to other people putting that pressure on me." What was the what do you think made the difference there for you?
Yeah, I think with, parents or coaching, like coaches pressuring kids, you need to wake up early and, go to practice or shoot pucks outside, or you need to eat healthy, eat this. And I think being able to do that myself and never having like the pressure of my parents, like never once were they like, you need to go outside and shoot pucks. Like that was always my decision. And I think that's what made me like love the game and fall in love with it, because I wasn't being pressured to do so. It was 100% my choice. And I really like I love my parents for that, because they're always supportive, like, "Oh, you wanna go, like, work out?" "Yeah, for sure," but they were never like, "You need to get up at 6 a.m. and work out." So, yeah.
Makes a world of difference for that's for sure. Were there I know that you mentioned obviously right off the top about how important it was for or how great it was to be able to watch family skate and how much that really at least initially sparked the interest. Even though you ended up spending a lot of time crying before it really started to click for you. But maybe could you talk about some of those maybe early coaches or early mentors or role models as well that really, when things maybe didn't click or weren't going so well, that inspired you, but also have really encouraged you throughout your junior career?
Yeah, so one of my first coaches was, my best friend's dad. His name's Glenn Gillies, and he kinda just, like, made hockey is obviously fun, but times where, it was tough and it wasn't as fun, he just always, like, kept, the room fun, the team fun, and just, like, kept the spark going for everybody. And then as well as I got older, I faced some adversity at some times, and especially, at the Lady Sens program with Dana, Mulvihill and Hannah. um, those were 2 coaches that really, really helped me become the player I am today and really led me to, being confident and competitive. They really showed me that they believed in me, and I think that's what has shaped me throughout the last, like, 2 years especially, just, like, what they were able to provide for me and support me, so
And I am so glad that you brought that up. Absolutely perfect segue because you have Ottawa roots, both parents in terms of universities, but also yourself. Lady Sens now are the Ottawa Senators Women's Hockey Club. But that was you've shared just now, but in so many conversations in the past, you've also mentioned just how important that time period was in your growth and development. So thank you for expanding on that. But you were also an assistant captain with the team. Could you talk about what, in your evolution as a player, both on and off the ice, of course, as a person too, what that time period meant for you as well? Being a leader, being a part of, I know a letter, it's just a letter, but it does carry with it still some additional responsibilities and growth. Could you talk about that for you?
yeah, I found that that year I learned a lot about, being a leader, and just in terms of, like, how actions like meant a lot more than words at that time. And it was like me being able to, try and be a role model on the ice and off the ice. I was trying to, like, set an example on the ice in terms of in the D zone on PK, like not just offensively, and then also off the ice, when I talked about eating healthy and what you have to do in terms of like going to bed early and working out. And I was trying to influence the whole team as a whole. Just these are things that will help the team and yourselves to get to the next level. So I think that was a really big part of, my journey that year to just influence the team.
Mhm, mhm. And another really fascinating aspect of your career has been not even on the ice, but what you're doing off of the ice. And that's through a lot of community work. Do It for Darren. Anyone in the area knows how important Do It for Darren is. Um, could you maybe talk about that and why being involved in the community was so important, but also the work that you did with Do It for Darren?
Yeah, it was really important for, I mean, a bunch of the teams for Nepean and, Lady Sens, we worked with them, and I think just, like, giving back to the community obviously is super important, especially, like, after everything everyone's done for us and for our associations. So it's really important to just give back to, kids and people who aren't able to experience what we can with, like, being able to play hockey at this high level, how fortunate we are.
I often hear that you actually get more from these experiences than maybe you were expecting to, but certainly sometimes it's like, I'm actually getting more from this than I think everyone else around me, all the kids are, because of how rewarding and just to know that you're having an impact on them. Is that similar to you? Do you feel like when you have those opportunities to, whether it's with Do It for Darren or any of those community events that you're a part of, do you feel like you're getting more from those experiences than when you walked into that experience, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. You feel really impacted and obviously, like I said, like, very fortunate, and you just wanna give back. And, you know, going into it, like, you might not know what you're gonna come out with, and I think overall just great experiences, and I'm super fortunate to be a part of these, like, experiences with everyone and with our team. It's just yeah, it's a great overall, like, environment to be a part of, especially when we do, like, bottle drives or, before the games when we're asking for, like, donations, all of that. It's great to be a part of.
And I do want to also make sure that because this chapter of your life, your junior career here in Ottawa was so important to you. I want to hear when you look back on that time, what do you think was the biggest difference, or has become the biggest difference for you from the time that you arrived in Ottawa to the time you left Ottawa and ultimately um, ended up at Penn State?
Yeah, starting off in junior hockey, I mean, it was a bit tough because you go in kinda like the NCAA, and you're the youngest one there, right? Playing with a bunch of older girls who are soon going off to the NCAA. So it's a big transition from, like, midget hockey to, junior hockey for sure. And I think being able to go through a tough, like, first 2 years there and then focusing on myself and, like I said, um, just becoming confident with myself, trusting in myself, and then also having those coaches, especially at Lady Sens who, believed in me and pushed me to be the best self, my best self in terms of hockey and as a person. And then I find that really helped going into the NCAA. My first year at Penn State, I mean, it was obviously hard the transition, but knowing, like, you have to go in and just be confident. Like, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, but you need to be confident, and you're there for a reason. Like, you they recruited you for a reason, so just show them what you can do and, put your head down and work, and yeah, you'll see where it takes you.
Exactly, and it's taken you quite far, and that includes, of course, as we've mentioned, Penn State. So, you've talked about what that transition was like initially for you. Also, and it's a question that I like to ask because I'm fascinated to understand how you're able to play at such an elite level. And my goodness, can you play at an elite level? And we've seen it time and time again. You never have to look very far down the score sheet to see your name on there multiple times. But somehow you're able to do that, but also balance a degree, balance academics. How, first of all, how has that been for you? That transition to where you're having to balance both being an elite player, but also a standard in terms of your GPA, in terms of your grades. How has that been for you, and how have you done it?
Yeah, I think, again, like, in junior hockey with high school, it wasn't that hard to manage, like, high school and junior hockey. It wasn't as time consuming, but coming to Penn State and, with my kinesiology degree, it's been a lot of studying. I never thought I'd have to study this much. It's
Mhm.
it's actually been pretty crazy, especially, I mean, with all the labs and, bio work. I have classes like 3 times a day, 2 times a day, and then, you go right to practice and lift. So pretty much from like 9 to 5, you're busy. And then when you get home and you have supper, you then have to study the rest of the night. So it is pretty time consuming and it does get a bit draining at times.
Mhm.
I do really like my kinesiology degree, so I think that it translates really well with hockey actually because we're learning, so much about the body and about nutrition and
Mhm.
everything. So I actually found that um these last 2 years it's helped with hockey. Like again, with what to put in my body, active recovery, you know, injury prevention, and then also like getting stronger on the ice. So it's actually helped, but it's been tough to balance both, but I do really like the degree, so, like, I'm gonna stick with it.
Well, and it's interesting because as you were sharing that, I was starting to think, I was like, this passion for understanding the body and understanding what fuels it the right way as an athlete, that started awfully young for you, and that started because of something that you were really passionate about. So do you think that degree, that choice in the degree, easy for me to say, was as a result of that early passion that you found, that you discovered with the understanding between, or the correlation between, fuel recovery and success on the ice?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a bunch of classes, especially my first year, there's some classes, like, we had to take, and kines classes that, I mean, weren't really that, like, important to me or I wasn't really passionate about, but at the end of last year and then going into my second year, you kinda get more into specific classes. So learning I'm in a class right now, we learn, like, about the whole body, all the bones in the body, the organs, everything, and I find that so fascinating, and then we had some nutrition classes, again, where you learn everything you need to put in your body to fuel as an athlete as well. So I find that has really helped so much, and then, yeah, I was so interested as a kid in like, with all this stuff, so it's
Mhm.
pretty cool that I'm, like, actually learning all this stuff and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's paying off, so that's fantastic. And it's funny, I always say this, but like, I think I partly asked that question because I found it overwhelming to just do one thing, and that was academics, so I dropped out. So anytime, I think I'm kind of maybe projecting and maybe living vicariously through other people who have found that way to balance multiple things and be successful, because I didn't, and here we are. But I also want to talk about something that was really, that you, something, an event that you were a part of that was, first of its kind for you, and that was to be able to play in the outdoor game at Beaver Stadium. Now, I have so many questions, but I just want to talk, maybe start with, what was that like? Because it looked, and I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was, I mean, obviously once in a lifetime experience, and it was just so cool to have it at Beaver Stadium, you know, such an amazing facility, and to be doing it with this team because. It was just such a fun experience, the whole thing was awesome. I mean, we were worried it was gonna be too cold or the ice wasn't gonna be good, but honestly, it was great. It wasn't too cold once we started playing, the ice was good.
It
They made
looked beautiful. It looked incredible that day.
Yeah, it was great, and we had the most fans we've ever had, so that was awesome. yeah, it was just such a cool experience, like, being outside.
So I kind of alluded to it, but it was the first hockey game ever played at Beaver Stadium. Did you going into that game? Did you ever feel like like there was a little bit of pressure to make sure that like there was like an additional pressure to maybe show up well, to play well, or were you able to not let that moment, not let that experience be bigger than it was? Like, were you able to maintain game day focus, or did you find a little bit of extra pressure because it's the first of its kind?
Maybe a little bit of extra pressure. I was mostly just, like, so excited, like, we were all talking about how it felt like Christmas morning, and we were just so excited to, wake up and play. So I was obviously a bit more excited than a normal game. There was a little bit more pressure with I mean, we have 3 Olympians on our team that are gone, so that was the first game with them being gone, and we're short to, like, 3 lines. We have D's playing as forwards. So that also added some pressure, like, we need to keep winning no matter, like, who's gone. We need to show, like, we have a team full of depth and we can win. So,
Mhm,
it was nice to pull out with the win as well.
mhm,
It was
mhm.
getting kinda tight, but yeah, we did pull through, and it was a really fun game.
When you maybe years down the road, what do you think you will remember the most about that experience at Beaver Stadium and being not just being a fan, but being in the game?
Yeah, I think it always comes back to the team. I wouldn't wanna do it with any other team. I think like, this is the best team I've played on. Everyone is so fun and so, great to be around. So, all of us, we're we were just so excited. So, we're playing games, sewer before the game and spike ball, and we're just so excited to be there. And then being out on the ice, like, it just felt unreal. And every goal was like we won, like, the Stanley Cup or something. We were so
Mhm,
excited for every goal. It was
mhm.
just yeah, it was such a unreal experience.
There are so many interesting aspects of your career, both on and off the ice. One of the things that I read about was how you've spoken about playing for your grandmother, and you would write her initials on your stick. What does that connection to your grandmother mean to you, especially on game day?
Yeah, so my grandmother, she passed away in her early to, mid-50s, and it was really hard on the family because, I mean, she was so young, and she was such a big part of our family. We spend our summers at the cottage with her and my grandpa, like, all the time when we were growing up. So, losing her was, like it was really hard on the family, especially, just with how close we were with her, and she didn't understand hockey really at all, but I would always, like, go to her if I, was going through a hard time with hockey, with anything,
Mhm,
and she was literally the most positive person I've ever met. She just always had like, never had anything bad to say about anyone. She always gave me, like, great advice, and I think, like, for game days, just being able to, like, put her initials on, my stick really means a lot to me and, think about her on every game day and, you know, just to have her, in the back of my head knowing, like, to stay positive throughout the game and to keep her advice throughout the rest of my life.
we spoke earlier about the growth that you had in Ottawa with the Sens, and how important that was. Could you do the same thing now with Penn State? And I know that you're only in your second year, but could you talk about the growth that you've felt and you've seen both on and off the ice in your time at Penn State at this point?
Yeah. Coming here was just, I mean, such an awesome decision because the facilities, everything, the coaching staff, I mean, has been awesome. Um, our rink, I mean, is incredible. Our gym is incredible, and then we have so much stuff like that we have access to. We just got a Greenberg facility, which has, you know, just food for athletes, so we get the proper nutrition, and we have a recovery facility, you know, everything you need in terms of like there's saunas, red light bed therapy, um, all these hot and cold tubs, so much things that we have access to, and that's really helped me with my game, like, fully just focusing on what I need to do, and then also coming into college hockey, I mean, you have all this ice now, and in junior
Mhm.
hockey, I mean, you follow, like, the practices for your teams, and if you need extra ice for skills or anything, I mean, you gotta pay a lot of money for that. But then coming to college hockey and being just texting my coach, "Hey, like, 8 a.m. on Monday, can I do skills?" And, like, yeah, it's awesome. So now I get to work on skills all the time, and having a trainer now all the time too throughout the season has been awesome. And also being able to look at video and everything with our team and then individually with the coach has really helped me with my game overall. And them, you know, saying, let's work on this for skills, let's work on skating, um, or this type of 2-on-1 for skills, you know, that's also really helped me implement that into a game. So
And I guess then it begs the question, of course, we're seeing this long overdue spotlight on women's hockey. And it's globally, of course, but obviously, specifically, of course, with the PWHL. When you look at your own career and you look at your future in the sport, what excites you the most about your future in the game of hockey?
I think just in the last, like, I guess 2, 3 years with the PW, you know, expanding and just being such, like, a big thing now, and I didn't really know I could have this dream as a little girl. Like, I knew I could go to college and play hockey, but I didn't know I could go like, there was gonna be a women's, like, professional league that was doing so well. So, I'm just really excited for it to keep doing well and for hopefully more expansions, and then I'm really hoping, you know, I could someday play in the PWHL. That's a really, you know, big dream of mine to not have to be done with hockey after these 4 years at Penn State. I wanna keep going, and it's something I'm super passionate about. So, yeah, hopefully, I can go to the PWHL, but yeah.
Well, I have a feeling that will absolutely be a part of your future. I was going to ask if having the PWHL is an added fuel or a motivation for you, but it's quite clear you are already very motivated and very fueled to be successful. And so, of course, the PWHL, professional hockey here in North America, of course, that's going to be fuel for you. So I'm excited to cheer you on, of course. We are now at unbelievably the final segment of today's show. We're into the final buzzer segment. So this is a fun rapid fire way to wrap up the conversation. Hopefully I ask zero follow-up questions. That's always my goal, is to make sure not to ask any follow up questions, although I'm not great at it. So I feel like, as someone who fuels their body and is very aware of what they are fueling their body with, we need to know, what is your go to pregame meal?
So, I actually don't have a specific, go-to pregame meal, especially since, I've came to university, like, we get meals catered for us before most pregame meals, especially when we're away. So I literally I just try and have my plate with, like, a good amount of carbs. I like to carb load before the games, and then, you know, chicken would probably be my preferred, source of protein, and then some vegetables and fruit. And then, before the games and in between periods, I do focus on, like, dates and peanut butter. That's been actually this last year I've been having it, in between periods, and I thought that's really helped with, like, energy and stuff on the ice.
Well, I like to carb load as well, but I'm not an athlete, so that's why it's not so good for me. How do you, or what do you do to mentally reset after maybe a tough game, a tough loss, or a tough moment? What are you doing to mentally reset?
Yeah, I find I just need to totally forget about the game and, like, wipe it out of my memory. I wanna start, going to the next game completely fresh and forget about everything that's happened. So, I do try and just, focus on myself. I do some self-care. I
Mhm.
started journaling too just to, write about my thoughts on the game, and then also just, like, what I can do next game to, you know, change or implement it, but then I need to wake up the next day, completely forget about what just happened. Um, but then also sometimes I'll ask, for some video if I'm going through a rough period or something like that, and then we can look through that, but honestly, just trying to forget it and move on and trust my abilities in bringing that into the next game.
Has that? I know I said I wouldn't ask any follow up questions. I made it this far, so I'm proud of myself. But has that always been your case? Has that always been something that you've been focused on? Is how to mentally reset, or do you think that that's something that has changed in your maybe specifically in your collegiate career?
Yeah, that's changed. So last year, we were told by our coach, Jeff, to read the Energy Bus book. And I think that was over Christmas break. We were told to do that. And I read it, and it actually changed my perspective on a lot of things. Like, it kind of changed my perspective on waking up, and it's not like, "Oh my gosh, I have class at 8 a.m."
Hmm.
Like, I get to go to class, and this book, I mean, it really helped with the rest of the year because there are some weekends, you won't get a point for a weekend or 2, and then you kinda get in your head like, "Oh my gosh, like, what am I doing wrong?" But then once I started, again, journaling, that's what got me into journaling, and then reading more of these books, so I actually asked him for a few more of these types of books, and it really got me thinking that a lot of, like, the game is very mental, and as a kid, you don't really think about that, like, it's just how good your shot is or how good you are at stick handling or skating, but really once you get to the college level, I think it really turns into, like, are you mentally prepared? Are you mentally, like, good going into the game? And if you're not, that can really impact the whole game. Doesn't matter how good you are. Like, you need to be okay going into the game and having a good mental state and a positive one.
Yeah, absolutely. To your point, a lot of people think that it's all about strength and conditioning. It's actually not. It's a lot of it is about the mental side. What's something that people may be surprised to learn about you?
That I'm very, very clean. So, I just I don't know, I need everything to be super clean, and I have a hard time when stuff, especially, like, in my own room, is, like, out of order. So, I know people do, like, their Sunday weekly, like,
Hmm.
resets, and they clean their whole room, but I honestly, I probably got this after my mom. She vacuums, like, twice a day, and
Hmm.
I usually vacuum, like, once a day in my own room, and I need my bed to be made, I need everything to be, like, cleaned, wiped down, so yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I have to wait a week before I can clean. No, this is a daily reset for Grace. That's for sure. Um, Last one for you. If your teammates were to describe you in one word, what do you think that one word would be?
I would say relentless, um, on the ice in terms of, forechecking, backchecking, I wanna be an all-around player, and I mean, I hope they see me as a relentless all-around player because I really try and focus on, again, it's not just about scoring goals or getting on the point, on the sheet, but it's also about, like, what can you do in the D zone? Like,
Hmm.
can you pick up your guy in front of the net? Can you block shots? Can you, get back? So I think that also learning that it's not all about points and not all about scoring goals, and you have to try and be an all-around player because that's what coaching and scouts and all of that, like, that's what they're looking for.
Absolutely. Well, it is now that time for me to say goodbye. I can't believe we're at the end of the episode, but I just wanted to say, um, Grace, this has been an absolute pleasure. Knowing that I had an opportunity to chat with you, I was so excited to get that chance to see. I've seen a number of your games. I can't, and you have Ottawa roots, so there's of course there's some ties there as well. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to make time for our conversation. This has been a blast. You're a friend of the show now, so you better believe we're rooting for you every step of the way for the rest of your career and can't wait to do so. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as we both did, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow hockey fans. Your support helps me to keep bringing you stories just like this one from around the world of women's hockey. I'm Chris Sinclair. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time on Rinkside Rundown.